Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today, we will be learning how to create a character for Dungeons & Dragons. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and if you want to see more of these kind of videos, hit that notification button and do let us know what you would like to see next. Before we begin, there are two things that you will need to know. One is that all the information that we'll be using today are purely coming from the player's handbook and nowhere else, so as not to complicate things too much. Next, and I think which is the most important, create a cool character, something that you think is cool, and something that you know that you would play. It doesn't have to be a pure representation of yourself, but it could be about anything, something that you will find enjoyable for the rest of the campaign. Right. So the character example which I'll be using, her name is Vizsla Stonefist, and she is a Dwarven bard. Step 1. Pick a race. So to create Vizsla Stonefist, we'll be turning over to page 20 of the player's handbook, and we take a look at all the dwarf traits, and we fill them up accordingly. As you can see the information on the side, I'll be filling all of those dwarven information right here. So the first one is Ability Score. Your Constitution score will increase by 2. So as you can see on the left side, there's 6 ability scores like your Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. So I'll put over here, for now, +2 for Constitution. For age wise, I would skip it for now, but as stated here, dwarves mature at the same rate as humans, but they're considered young till they reach the age of 50. On average, they live to about 350 years. So perhaps I'll put over here maybe 100. So for the alignment, and for the purpose of this example, I will just put over here as lawful good, which is also what is stated here on the dwarven traits. Size, I'll come back to here. So dwarves stand between 4 and 5 feet tall, as I think Vizsla would be perhaps 4 feet and 4 inches tall. And her size is medium. Weight is 150 pounds on average. Maybe we say she's 145 pounds. Next up is speed. So for speed, it's stated here 25 feet, and I'll fill in within this box here 25 feet. So the next sentence is kind of important. It states that your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. So now, if you take a look at the other parts of the character sheet, there are things over here that states like other proficiencies and languages, which is things that you'll be good at. Like perhaps you're an artist, so you will have maybe a painting set and you'll be proficient in it. Or you could be knowledgeable in several languages. Okay, your equipment and features and traits. So this seems to be a dwarven trait that you would be able to wear heavy armor and you will not reduce your speed. So I'm going to write here that your speed is not reduced when wearing heavy armor. Right. Next up, dark vision. So dark vision also is a special trait for a dwarf. For dark vision, it states that you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern colors in darkness and only shades of grey. Now, that's a lot of information to write here, so I'm just going to place here dark vision, and I'll put over here PHP for the player's handbook and a page number to know where to find it. Next up, Dwarven resilience. I have advantage on saving throws against poison, and I have resistance against poison damage. Next up is Dwarven combat training. You will be proficient with the battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and warhammer. So now, this seems to be a proficiency trait, so I'll be moving over to the proficiency box over here to type in. Next up, tools proficiency. You will gain proficiency with the following artisan tools of your choice: a smith's tool, a burial supply, or a mason tool? I think as a bard, it would be really interesting as a character if I'm be able to make my own ale and my own drinks. So you know what? I will be putting brewer supplies as my proficiency. For dwarven traits is stone cunning. Whenever you make an intelligence or history check related to an origin of stonework, you're considered proficient in the history skill and add double of your proficiency bonus to the check. Okay, so I will put over here stone cunning. When making history intelligence check for stonework, times 2 proficiency bonus. Alright, so for languages, you can read, write and speak Common and Dwarvish. So I'll write here Common, as in it's a common language between all the races, so that's why it's called Common, and Dwarvish. Alright, so on the last dwarf traits is a sub-race. Now, there are two different sub-races on the dwarfs. So there's the hill dwarf and the mountain dwarf. Okay, so I choose the hill dwarf. So do right here under the race that I'm a dwarf and I'm a hill dwarf. Because if we choose different sub-race, there'll be different traits. So in this case, as a hill dwarf, my wisdom score increased by 1. So I will go down to the ability score here under wisdom, and I'll just type in here +1 first. Lastly, dwarven toughness. So it states here that dwarven toughness, your hit points maximum increase by 1 and increase by 1 every time you gain a level. So I'm going to put here max HP increase by 1 and increase by 1 every time I gain a level. So under my hit points over here, I'll just put +1 temporary first. Step 2, choosing a class. So Vista Stoneface is going to be a bard. So right here at the class itself, I'm going to write here that I'm a bard and my level would be level 1. So do turn to page 52 of the player's handbook so we can see all the class features of being a bard. So the first thing on the class feature of a bard is that your hit dice will be 1d8. So the hit dice will be a little bit important because this will help to determine your maximum hit points, and when you're recovering by taking potions, you will also use the hit dice as well. And my hit points is 8 plus my constitutional modifier. So early on we actually mentioned that your hit points will also increase by 1 by being a dwarf. So I will write over here +1 for being a dwarf, and as a bard it will be 8 plus my constitutional modifier. So I'll write here con mod. Later, once we get the ability scores, we can replace this portion over here. Next up, class proficiencies. I would be proficient in light armor, and other weapons that I'll be proficient in would be the simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and the short sword. Select 3 musical instruments of my choice. I actually referred to the equipment list somewhere within the player's handbook, and I would be choosing drums, flute, and the lute. So these 3 musical instruments I will be proficient in. Next one, saving throws, dexterity and charisma. So the saving throws for being a bard, you'll be proficient in dexterity and charisma. And so under the saving throw section here, I will click or shade in this circle, dexterity and charisma. Now, these squares or lines for the saving throws, you fill up later once you have the ability scores ready. Same thing for the skills. So as a bard, I can choose any 3 skills of my choice. Right, so equipment. For the equipment, I can choose the following. So for the first item, I can choose a rapier, a longsword, or any simple weapon. I would then choose, I'll choose a rapier. Next up, a diplomat's pack or an entertainer's pack. I think I would then select an entertainer's pack. Well, because I am an entertainer myself. Alright, another instrument that I would be equipped with, a lute or any other musical instrument. Why didn't I use a flute? Yeah, it's easy to carry, and I think, yeah, and because I'm proficient in it, I think that'll be a good choice. Lastly, I will be equipped with a leather armor and a dagger. Put here, dagger. So as a bard, I would have access to certain spells. So at level 1, so under the spellcasting class, I would be able to have access to bardic spells. And I can choose 2 cantrips of my choice from the bardic spell list. So for your easy reference, I'm going to write here, choose 2 cantrips from bardic spell list. Next up, as you refer to the table on page 53, you'll see that when you're level 1, you would receive the following things. Alright, you will receive the proficiency bonus of +2. So we go back to the first page of our character sheet, and we can see right near the top left, you see the word proficiency bonus. You can write over here, +2. Some other features is spellcasting, which is why we are on the spell section of the character sheet, and bardic inspiration. I'll touch that in a short while. You will also know 2 cantrips and 4 known spells. So I'll write here, list down 4 spells, 4 known spells from the bardic spell list. And you would have 2 spell slots per spell level. So I'll write here, I have 2 level 1 slots. So what does it mean by the 2 spell slots? So what it means is that you would be able to cast 2 spells for the day, and you would be able to recover those slots after a long rest. I'm just going to write some of them down here so that you have a better understanding. Right, so I've listed down all the spells which I wish to know. So I've already selected 2 cantrips, which are Mage Hands and Minor Illusion. And for my level 1 spells, I've chosen the 4, Cure Wounds, Fairy Fire, Feather Fall, and Sleep. As you can see for my spells, there are a few ways to write the spells, okay? One is that you can write the spells and the description that they have directly onto the character sheet itself. So in this case, I've written that Cure Wounds. It is a verbal and somatic. Basically means that you need to say the magic word, do some hand gestures, and it's an instant cast, and will regain a target's HP for 1d8 and my spell bonus. Another alternative that you can do is to write, like my Fairy Fire, is to write the page in which you can find the spell itself. So the third way is that you can actually have the spells separately, in the sense that you can either print them out on a separate paper, write it somewhere, or you can purchase the spell cards from Wizards of the Coast. As you look further down the page, for bards, their spellcasting ability, which will be using the charisma ability. So I will write over here charisma, and it will be stated here also that the spell save difficulty class, or in short DC, is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. So we know that our proficiency bonus is 2, so we be 8 plus 2 plus our charisma modifier. And for our spell attack bonus, it would be the proficiency bonus plus our charisma modifier. Step 3, ability scores. So there are 6 ability scores for you to fill up, which are strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. There are a few ways to create the ability scores. Well, I'll say the 2 most common is 1, and which is my favorite, which is to use a preset standard set of scores, which are the values are 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8, and I can assign them however I want. The other method is to actually roll 6 numbers of d20 dice, alright, and whatever values you get, write it down, and then you can assign them to the abilities however you like. But here's the problem. As a DM, I am not fond of this method because of the reason that you could, 1, roll really badly, and you could be getting really low ability scores, which will impact the way you'll be running your game later. And 2, there'll be a chance for you to roll really high scores, such as 18, 19, and 20, which is not very ideal as well. You'll be way too overpowered as a level 1 character. So that's why personally, as a dungeon master, I would prefer that first time players will use the standard set of scores and then fill them up. The reason why I left ability scores to much later is because now that you know your race, your class, and because you're a spellcaster, your spellcasting ability is using charisma, now you can properly assign the scores to sort of maximize and optimize your character. So charisma being the main ability for your spellcasting, I will then assign charisma as the highest ability score. So I will put below here 15. The next one would be, in my personal opinion, I feel as a performer, I will be very dexterous in terms that I will be doing lots of performances, maybe some stunts, there'll be lots of dancing and things like that. So I'll put my dexterity as 14. As a dwarf, I also feel that my strength will be relatively high, so I'll put 13 on strength, 12 on wisdom, 10 on constitution, and 8 for intelligence. Now that we've filled in the ability scores, now we need to add in the modifiers. On page 13 of the player's handbook, you can refer to the table which states the ability scores and the modifier. So, starting with strength, for a score of 13, and if you refer to the table, I would have a modifier of +1. For dexterity, I have a modifier of +2. And for constitution, alright, so constitution is actually a +0 modifier. So +0 +2 will give me back to 2. Intelligence and 8 will give me a -1. And for wisdom, 12. So it will be +1 +1, which will give me a total of 2. And for charisma, I would have a +2 modifier. Right, so saving throws done, and now to the skills. So right now we fill up all the modifiers under the skills section. Step 4, personalities and backgrounds. So right now I'm going to be filling up my backgrounds, my personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. So you can refer to page 130 on the player's handbook. I will be choosing the entertainer as my background. So as you can see under the entertainer, we have some additional things listed here. I will also be proficient in acrobatics and performance. Alright, so by being proficient, either click on or shade the acrobatics skill, and oh, okay, it looks like I've already filled in previously performance. Now I can leave this performance here, and I can choose another one. There's no such thing as a double proficient in a certain skill, and doesn't mean that I can have +2 +2, as in double the proficiency. So because of that, I have to choose another one. So perhaps I can select persuasion. Maybe. Yep, I think I'll choose persuasion as my other skill to use. So perception, persuasion, and sleight of hand will be the skills coming from as a bard, and from my entertainer background, I will then get performance and acrobatics. I will also be given another equipment, which is a musical instrument of my choice, where perhaps I will use the lute this time. 2 proficiencies. I would be then proficient in using the disguise kit, and 1 more other musical instrument. Let's just say the pan flute. So next up is the entertainer's routine. So a good entertainer is versatile, spicing up every performance with a variety of different routines. Maybe I'll put here entertainer's routine as being a instrumentalist and perhaps a storyteller. I'll take 2. Right, moving on. Personality traits. You can either just take from the table, or you can even write something that you have imagined it yourself as a personality trait. So I would take this one. For my ideals, again, you can choose from the table by rolling a d6, but I plan to take this one. And for my bond, I want to be famous, whatever it takes. For my flaw, I'm a sucker for a pretty face. Sounds like everybody I know of. Okay. Step 5. Cleanup. So we're nearing to the end of our character creation. So we'll basically clean up all the portions where we have missed out earlier on. And for example, all those modifiers that we didn't know previously, we can fill those in. Okay, let's start from the top. Initiative. Initiative is your dexterity modifier, so it's basically +2. So whenever you start a battle, if you have the roll for initiative, you'll roll a d20 and then add your initiative to it. Constitution modifier for your hit points. Our constitution modifier is a +2, so our hit points is a +1 +8 +2, which will give us a total of 11 hit points. Okay? Now for our attacks, we currently are equipped with a rapier, a dagger, and that's about it. We don't have any damaging spells. If you're, for example, you're a wizard or you do know some spells, you can actually add those in here right now. Right, for a rapier and a dagger, we are both proficient in it, so our attack bonus will be +2 for proficiency bonus. And because they are a strength or dexterity weapon, we can then add our, whichever is higher, our strength or our dex modifier. So in this case, our dexterity is higher than our strength, so we'll then use a +2 instead. So it will give us a total of +4. This one is also +4. For the rapier, it is a 1d8, and it's stated here it is a piercing weapon. And this is a 1d4 piercing. Other notes that we can write here is that a rapier is a finesse and light, and a dagger is a finesse, light, and can be thrown at a range of 20-60. Alright, so for equipment, I put the entertainer's pack below. Why? Is because that inside your pack has got other items in there. So I'll be listing them right now. So the entertainer's pack will include the backpack itself, a bedroll, 2 costumes, 5 candles, 5 days worth of rations, water skin, and a disguise kit. For the starting money that we'll get, I can refer to the table inside the player's handbook, and then I will have a selected 5d4 times 10 gold pieces. So I think to make it fair, I will get 100 gold pieces. So the currency that's listed here, starting from the top, is your copper piece. 10 copper piece is equivalent to 1 silver piece. 10 silver piece is equivalent to 1 gold piece, and 10 gold piece is equivalent to 1 platinum piece. Other equipment that I got as an entertainer, which is my background, is 15 more gold piece, and I would also get a favor of an admirer. Let's say I got a necklace, right? And 1 more costume, so I will get a total of 3 costumes. So for passive wisdom, right, because I'm proficient in perception, I would then add 10 plus 2 for my proficiency in perception and another 2 for my wisdom. So 10 plus 2 plus 2 will give me a total of 14. There's something else which I forgot to add within features and traits, and it's basically the most important skill for being a bard, is your bardic inspiration. So what bardic inspiration does is that whenever you can give bardic inspiration to a creature, in this case I will give the creature a d6 die. Whenever that creature makes a check or saving throw or attack or whatsoever, you can roll that d6 and you can add it to your total value of the check. So for example, I roll a 10 for the check, I can roll the additional d6 and I can add it on top of it. However, each character can only carry 1 bardic inspiration die at one time, and you will only be able to use it to a maximum of your charisma modifier. So max slots equals to 2 in this case. So you will be able to recover them after a long rest. Then filling this up, so for the spell save DC, since my charisma modifier it is a +2, so my total would be a +2 + 2 is 14, and for my spell attack bonus it would be 4. Right, so that's about it. I hope this video was helpful to you in creating a character. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment down below, and I'll try my best to help you in any way I can. Thank you, and see you next time.